Hey traders, Spartan here from Spartan-trading.com. I want to hit you guys with a educational video and something that I think you're going to be to directly use and apply in this market. Now, we've been in a lot of different trades in the last couple of weeks, and one thing that I've found that works really well on these small caps is understanding what to look for early on so that you have a high enough skewed risk reward and that you can get into these positions where you don't need to take a large position out the gate. You can watch it and add as it goes. There's a couple different things that I'm looking for the add. A lot of it has to do with volume, but first I want to go through the examples that I want to talk about. So DFLI is a really good example. We got into this name at 17 cents. It went to 64, which is where we sold most of it. And we added back a little bit at the end of the day today, about 1/10 size. Now, this position was probably about 2 or 3 cents of risk to the downside. I want to talk about specifically what I was looking for on that one. And this AGH would be another one from today day trade side, which we got in at 75 cents, 74, 75 cents, went up to $2. I was looking for a short squeeze on it. And I want to talk about what I was seeing on the L2 to cause that to happen. The last one I want to talk about is this D-Nut. And D-Nut was a small cap. We got it on at 350. Again, all these are time stamped on Twitter, guys. You go to my Twitter, I give these for free. And they all ran, pretty large. And then obviously in the room, I'm guiding in regards to what I'm doing, walking people through my ideas, etc. there, as well as the option ideas are, within the room as well. But D-Nut was one at 350, saw some large option activity early on and some other things, which allowed us to get into the position early on. 13-cent contracts, it went to $1.90, and we were exiting most of them on the open of today, 1,285% idea there. Now, what is this key component that I'm looking for on these small caps? Well, there's a few things, and I would call it maybe three. Number one, I want to see something that's beaten down with room to the upside. And I don't want just 50 cents of room. I want $1 of room minimum. If the stock's trading at $3, I want to see room to $4. Now, when I talk about room, I'm talking about the next resistance level on the daily. Next resistance level is a high that stands out from a visual standpoint. I call these peaks on the chart. Now, you can learn more about this stuff in the masterclass and the mentorship, but just to keep it short, they're highs, visual highs on the daily chart. They're called resistance levels or peaks, and that's where the stock typically will have room to. If that level breaks, you have room to the next peak. The second thing I will look for is relative volume. Relative volume on these small caps above 1 is really, really important right now. When you see that relative volume, then that's your indication you can start to add into those positions, assuming you still have the risk reward skewed to the upside in your favor. Remember, it's not just about being correct, it's about making sure you have that 3-to-1 opportunity or risk reward skew, in my opinion, before doing anything. You always want to control the risk as much as you possibly can on these small caps because they're very dangerous to trade and you don't want to chase them. And there's always going to be another one as well, right? So that is the second thing. The third thing in this example, D-Nut, was it had a large amount of unusual option activity right out the gate. If I'm looking at a small cap name with options trading on them, I usually want to see at the closest strike expiration around 1 to 2,000 in volume within the first 30 minutes. If I see that, usually will pique my interest, especially if they're out of the money, because it can cause a gamma squeeze. If you're not familiar with the gamma squeeze, that's basically what happened with the GME move back in 2021. So that's the three things I was looking for on D-Nut. And I try to have these three prongs on every single small cap I'm looking at, three catalysts. AGH, similar to D-Nut, beaten down, had room off the lows, was the first thing. Now this thing, I wasn't looking at the options because it doesn't have options traded on it. But what I was looking at was that relative volume, again, above 1, which is higher than usual. And then this third thing I was looking at was insider ownership. 69% insider ownership with a small float, 3 million float, about 13 million outstanding. They did do an offering after hours and it pushed up, which is kind of the fourth thing we'll talk about here. But those are the three things I was looking at. Now, intraday, I saw on the FADF exchange, which is off market, they were trying to short sell the stock quite a bit. And I don't know that for sure until I check probably tomorrow the sheets to see if they were indeed shorts. I'm not sure. But my guess is they were dark pool shorts trying to box this thing in because they wanted to do that offering at 89 cents. They were unable to do so. It got a squeeze to the upside. And I actually went long again after my initial selling of most of the position. I think I had 1/20th left with up here. I went long again because it was holding up after hours. I figured, okay, if they were trying to box in this thing off exchange, or if there's a short seller, off exchange, there's a naked short. They're most likely stuck in the position. And at that small of a float, you probably can see a squeeze. The offering closes on the 25th of July. You can look back, see what happened with this name. My guess is you might get a little squeeze in the morning. If it gets a pretty decent amount of volume, probably get continued momentum. If not, it's probably going to come back in. But regardless, that's what I'm looking at. I think it's risky to trade it up here, by the way, in my opinion. Wouldn't chase it. The risk reward doesn't make sense, but I'm just giving you guys the example of what I'm looking at here. The last one I want to talk about is DFLI. Relative volume was the number one thing I was looking for. Room on the daily, that's always a constant. I'm always looking for that risk reward skew. And the third thing, and let me see if I can find it. I was looking for unusual volume. And that unusual volume, you might not be able to see it. Yeah, it's kind of small here. Unusual volume. You can go back on a different platform. So you can kind of see it there. Right here, there's a blip of 872,000. There's a couple more of like 50, 100, etc. Typically what happens on these really small like penny names, etc., someone's going to try to build a position when it's cheap, and they're not going to let it run. So they're going to be buying on the bid or waiting for it to come in on the bid, and with decent sized orders. Sometimes they'll stack them, but typically not if they're trying to be a little sneaky. So I thought there was unusual block buying on it. Relative volume was turning up. It had that risk reward skew. We took a position at 17 cents, and lo and behold, we were correct on it and ended up getting a nice push. Now, this stuff doesn't work 100% of the time. It's just what I'm looking for. I'm looking for unusual volume, room, and then some third catalyst to cause that momentum. Now, hopefully you guys learned something. Just wanted to break this down for you. And if you guys do have any questions or you want to learn more, you can go to Spartan-tested.com. You can join us there. I do also have mentorships and master classes where I go over this stuff one-on-one with everybody, teach them my entire system and how everything works. I understand it can be a little bit complicated and tough out there, but yeah, join us in chat, guys. Day trading, swing trading, long-term investing. These are the types of ideas I like to go after when there's momentum in the small cap market, mainly a mid cap, big cap stock trader, SPX options every single day. You can look at our hit rate there as well as the QQQ. There's something for everybody. I think we do a pretty good job. Anyways, guys, that's it. Enough pumping my own tires. Have a good one. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Cheers.